Hello everyone, welcome to Docs 3D. This is Ivan, and in today's video we are going to show you how to do post-processing to a 3D rendering done in 3ds Max. So we're going to take a 3D rendering we did in 3ds Max, which kind of looks okay but could look much better. So we're going to show you in 5 easy steps how we can take that rendering to the next level. Stay tuned. So the picture on the left is a 3D rendering we did using 3ds Max. But we didn't spend much time with the lights. We just put on kind of overall lighting, kind of were in a hurry and just good to go. And then post-production was done in Photoshop, and the result is much better. So in order to do that, the first step is just opening the picture in Photoshop, any version of Photoshop. After that, the first step, we are going to make 2 copies, and one of the copies we're going to make it darker and the other one lighter. For doing that, you click on the layer menu. If you cannot find your layer menu, you can go to, and you have the layers here, or F7. Once you right click with the mouse on the layer, and then you go to duplicate layer, and then we're gonna call the first one light. Right click, duplicate layer, and we're gonna call it dark. So the dark should be at the top, and we're gonna start with the dark one. So the first thing we're going to do is taking this image and making it much darker by using the levels. For that, we go to image, adjustments, levels, and first we take this bar in the middle and kind of make it a little bit darker. It looks almost like a kind of night atmosphere. To turn off, I turn off the dark layer. Go to image, adjustments, levels, and make this image much lighter than the original. So now we have 2 copies of the picture. This is the original picture, this is a lighter version, and this is a darker version. So we're going to select the layer, the darker version. We're going to go to the erase tool. We're going to select a little bit bigger eraser, and then we are going to delete the areas that we want more light, because if we delete in the dark, actually we're going to see what is below, which is the light one. We kind of delete the parts that we want actually more light, and they're going to become brighter. So we keep on doing this process, and then we make smaller mouse for the little lights, and then we do this process with all the lights in the scene, including the reflections and some areas that we are going to want to be more bright for one reason, more light for one reason or another. Like for here for instance is very dark. So what we have done, we have a dark layer that we have deleted some parts. We have a very light and the original one. As you can see, the dark one, we have deleted the parts that have more light, so they're going to pop up more. So basically what we have done is giving much more depth to the picture, much more contrast. It's more different between the light parts and the dark parts. Once you achieve a result that you like, you select both layers with Shift, and then right click on the mouse and merge layers. So now we have the new one and the original one. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go to image, adjustments, and we're going to play with the levels again a little bit. Okay, so we like the image in here. Now we're going to go to the layer again, right click, duplicate layer. We're making a new layer. We're keeping the memory of what we're doing. We're going to call it this saturation. Again to image, adjustments, hue, saturation. Then we're going to play with the saturation. We're going to give about, you can play here, this total saturation, this is black and white, so we're going to increase the saturation by 30 in this case. Click OK, and then turn off the layer, and then we compare. It's much better now. The next step will be giving depth to the picture. So what we're going to do, we're going to right click, duplicate layer, and then this new layer, we're going to call it blur. Why is that? Because we're going to make it blur. So to do that, we go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, click here, and we're going to give a radius of about, let's test, it's too much, I'm going to give a radius of about 4. So as you can see right now is pretty blurred. And then with the eraser tool, I'm going to select the eraser tool. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger with the soft edge. And then we are going to delete some parts of the blur so we see actually the crisp layer that is behind. So because we have the blur layer at the top and the normal layer behind. So whenever we delete, we see this original picture. So we're gonna do that with all the parts of the picture that kind of are near the camera. We have finished the blur. As you can see, we have this blur layer on top that makes some parts really blur. In order to make it more clear, I'm gonna just zoom in. So for instance, this part here at the back is very blurred compared to the original rendering. We make it blurred, so that's going to give more depth to our picture. So now once we are happy with the result, we're going to select the blur layer and the normal saturation layer, and we're going to merge them into one layer and compare with the original one. So this is the original one we had, this is where we are right now. Much more depth, much more color. We have kind of like a little bit of an atmosphere. So our image is looking much better than the original one. The original one was kind of gray and death. This one is much more alive, and we start seeing some sort of atmosphere where we're gonna give more light. In order to do that, we're gonna go to the layer menu here and we're gonna create a new layer. This new layer, we're gonna call it white light. Why is that? Because we are gonna create white light. In order to do that, we go to the brush tool, we select 100% white color, we make our brush a little bit wider, then wherever we see a light, especially around the edges, we paint it white. Brush a little bit smaller now for the smaller lights towards the end. So wherever we have a kind of like a light fixture, we want to create like a white paint. So right now this looks a little bit too much, of course, so we're gonna do again the same process. We select this layer, we go to filter, we go to blur, and we select Gaussian blur, and then this time we're gonna do a much more blur, so it becomes like almost like if it's smoke in the atmosphere. We got a value of 78 in this case, and because it's a little bit too strong, we are going to we're going to go to the layer menu, we're going to go to opacity, and we're going to play with opacity to see until a point that looks like a little bit like smoke in the atmosphere, in the ambience, but not too much. So now we have even more ambience, and we're going to repeat the process, create a new layer. We're going to call it white highlights, and we're going to do exactly the same thing, but this time we're going to get more like on the light. So we're going to make the brush a little bit smaller, do more punchy light. Why we do that? Because we're going to do less blur in this case, so we're going to leave more. The one before was more to create like a haze, like an ambience around the light, and this is more to just enhance the light itself. So this is a little more punchy, and we're going to do the Gaussian blur again. So we go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, but this time instead of doing 78, we're going to do just a little bit like much less. So the light is a little bit too strong, so we do the same thing. We go to opacity and we do it a little opacity, but less than before. We're doing 65. So we have a two type of white light, one more spotty on the light and another one more hazy with more blur. So we're going to give a little bit of a yellow light, so we're going to call this yellow. yellow light. We make a new layer called yellow light, and then we make a color that is going to be like a orange, like a yellow orange, like a dark master color. And then we start painting again, especially when we have some more warm orangey light. And once we have some kind of spots of like this kind of orange, we go again to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and then we're going to do a lot of blur again. We're doing 150 here, and now everything became very orange. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to test, see how it looks, put the orange below, so just by dragging the layer down, and I think that looks a little bit better. And I'm going to try to adjust these lights a little bit more. So at this point we have a combination of yellow light and orange light. Looks very great. The next step we're going to do, we're going to create another layer, and that's going to be called blue light. Why is that? Because some lights are blue, and the yellow light combined with the blue light in an image looks fantastic actually. So you're going to get some blue in some parts, especially like here at the end, this kind of some kind of window, so the kind of white light is covering these blue lights. And we're going to go again to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Now we're going to give like a lot. So you see, now we have the white light, the orange light, and some kind of blue light at the end. It kind of gives more depth and more interesting kind of type of reflections. Another trick that sometimes can look good, but you have to be very careful, is a lens flare. So we're going to copy the base layer again, so we have all the lights on top, and then we go filter, render, lens flare. We have several types. You can play with different types. We're gonna get the top one, which is the zoom one, and we're gonna get a kind of like a medium tone, and we're gonna situate in this light, because it's kind of like the first big light, kind of like it's almost like the camera is pointing there, and then gets like too much reflection. It's like you're trying to fake a mistake of the camera, then click OK, and then we get this kind of lens flare effect with kind of like some of these mistakes that you get when you do a photography sometimes, because like the light is too much disturbing your camera. So we're kind of faking that effect, so it looks a little bit more realistic. So you can keep on playing around with the lights and with darkness and lightness of the different layers of the rendering, and once you achieve a result that you like the one we have right now, I'm pretty happy with this right now. I'm gonna just select all my layers that I have used for this render with shift all together and merge into one layer, which I'm gonna call it final. So now we have our final layer. I'm going to turn off, and we compare to our original 3D rendering. As you can see, the difference is quite big, and we're going to zoom in a little bit to even get more detail. If you see here, we see the things at the back are quite blurred, some orange, some blue lights, some white lights. We have some lens flare effects. Some things like this chandelier here are very crisp, but some things are very blurred on the back, so that gives an effect of like a smoky, kind of very full atmosphere. And when I turn off, this is what we had before, very flat. The light doesn't have any drama, there's no depth, shadows are not so good, and this is our final result. If you liked the video, please don't forget to click like and subscribe to get more updates on our next videos that we will be posting. Thanks for watching. liked the video, please don't forget to click like and subscribe to get our latest updates. Thanks for watching.